Hi, in this video I'm covering the game between John Burke and Jeffery Xiong from the 11th round of US Championship. In the opening they played Italian, and in this case the Italian was very similar to positions which occur in the Ruy Lopez, because the structure is more or less the same, but bishop goes to c4 instead of b5. And now you see that white is playing c3 to avoid getting his bishop exchanged for the knight. Something similar was played between Caruana and Burke, but it was the Ruy Lopez. They develop, and now white is playing h3 to stop black from pinning the knight on f3. And now black plays a5, trying to stop white from expanding on the queen side by b4. Now white is striking in the center, and black is not taking on d4 because it would allow white to get a good center. So now he goes bishop b3, trying to get his bishop to c2 and to anticipate capture on d4, and also to defend one more time on e4. Black goes rook e8, trying to put some pressure on the e4 pawn in case he takes on d4. And now, because the threat was ed4 to capture the pawn on e4, now he goes bishop c2. Black is continuing his development by playing bishop d7, and now white goes a4 to stop black from playing b5 anytime soon. And here black plays queen c8, which I don't get what was exactly the point of this move. I think that here I would play something like ed, cd, and knight b4, trying to get rid of this bishop. Because if bishop gets to b3, then e4 is lost. So basically you would, as black, you would eliminate this bishop, which is potentially very strong because of this battery with bishop and queen. Bishop c2 and queen d3 would form a really strong connection, and potentially they would endanger black's king after a push like e5. So here he plays queen c8, and white answers with bishop e3, and now he takes on d4, but now white's not taking with the pawn because he would lose the e4 pawn. He has to capture with the bishop, and here black took with the knight, cd, and now black plays c5. I think that here more solid move was c6, but c5 is also not a bad move. It was played with the idea if white plays d5, then black plays c4, and we have some kind of Benoni structure in which I think that even black has some kind of initiative, because black wants to go next queen c5 and queen b4 to attack the b2 pawn. Also, he can put some pressure on the e4 pawn. So this position with the bishop pair also in the picture, it's not bad for black at all. But instead white plays e5. And now he is trying to kick this knight away and put some pressure on black's king by playing queen d3 next. So basically he's removing the defender of black's king and trying to generate some attack on the king side. And here black makes a small inaccuracy. He plays knight d5, getting away from the king. I think that here it was better to get knight closer to keep the knight closer to black's king. And after queen d3, like it happened in the game, now after g6, there is no good way to continue this attack, because queen e4 runs into bishop f5, and he has to go back to e2 because the bishop is hanging. He would need to continue developing like knight a3, but after cd, now the center is completely ruined because you cannot capture the pawn, because you will just lose the pawn on e5. And after bishop b3, he would just simply go king g7, and this position should be fine for black. And without the e5 pawn, there's no hole on f6 like it was in the game. So here he makes a small inaccuracy. He plays knight d5, after which white plays queen d3, trying to provoke some weaknesses in black's camp. He has to play g6 because otherwise black would just have to run with his king after queen h7, king f8, queen h8, and he would lose his pawn. So he plays g6. He plays what he has to play. Now white switching to the other diagonal. He plays bishop b3. And now if knight goes to b4, queen g6 would come. So in this position, black plays knight f4, which allows white's queen to get on the king side much quicker with some tempi. Here it was better to play bishop e6 to protect this knight. And if white tries with queen e4, then black has this very strong response, c4, blocking the bishop completely. And if he goes back to c2, then knight b4. And also if he goes to a2, there's no perspective for that bishop there. It's not good. And black can also play knight b4, connecting some threats with knight takes a2 and c3. So basically this was the best option for black, to play bishop e6 to keep the position somewhat safe, because there's no good square for the queen. And knight on d5 also protects f6, which is very vital for black. But you'll see what happened in the game after knight f4. It also seemed like a good move, but after queen e4, he had to go back to e6, and now queen h4 was played. White finally transferred his queen to the king side, and now he has concrete threats. Black plays c4, trying to neutralize white's bishop. And now white doesn't answer by retreating his bishop to c2. He plays knight c3, which is a nice idea. He wants to go to d5 and to f6 to exploit this weakness on f6. But here it was much better to play knight bd2, which seemed counterintuitive. And here the point is, if you take on b3, then knight e4 comes, and there is a huge gap on f6. Also h6 is hanging, so, and also d6 is hanging. So lots of problems for black in this position. And if black tries to defend with knight g5, like it happened, like it could happen in the game, then white simply takes on h6, and now the point is that after knight f3, the knight just recycles, goes back to f3 and threatens knight g5 with checkmate very soon. And if he goes king g7, then you give a check on f6, and on king g8, knight takes c4. And now knight d6 is a big threat. Also, in some cases, d5 with e6 is a very strong possibility. And in case of d5, now you take on e5, and after rook f8 trying to protect f7, now knight g6 is devastating. And after fg, you can take back, take on h6, give another check, and after king h8, you don't capture the knight, you just bring your rook into the game and into the attack, and that is a mate in couple of moves. Because if you try knight g7, then this is a checkmate, and anything else leads to rook h5 next. So in the game, white played knight c3 instead. And now black made a mistake. He took on e5, where he could play knight g5. And now you cannot capture on h. It's not that good to capture on h6 like in the previous variation, because now after knight f3, there's no knight coming to f3 back. So after gf, black can take on d4, and after knight d5 trying to go knight f6, now black can defend and give up some material in order to defend. And here after knight f6, you can take, and black ends up with being material down, I mean exchange down, but white's pawn structure is quite ruined. His pawns on the king side are weak, doubled. Pawns on the queen side don't have the potential of becoming important like passed pawns, because a4 weakened b4 square, and so on. So here white can continue something like queen f4 maybe, and capture on c4, but it's still, even after exchanges, it's tough to break this position, because bishop on e5 is quite making quite a fortress in black's position. So this was the best chance for black to save the game. Knight g5, and after knight e4, for example, then he would just capture, and after rook e4, you cannot capture on b3 because queen h6 would be strong, and knight g5 next with a very strong attack, or just rook h4. Why not? So rook e4, bishop c6 would be played. And after rook g4, you can take on f3, take back, and after cb3, we have some crazy line. You can take on h6, and now, because of the threat of rook h4 and giving a checkmate on h8, black has to capture on d4. And now, because if you play rook h4, then black is simply defending by bishop e5, defending h8, because this is only one check. There's nothing dangerous here. White would have to be satisfied with giving a perpetual check with rook g6. And after this, queen can just give checks forever. So this is the only one variation. I think the best option for white in this case was to take on h6, like I said, and to enter this endgame, which is better for him, but it's tough to say how he's going to break black. Instead, in the game, black played d5 in this position instead of knight g5. And here, white simply took. And after bishop c6, white plays d5. And now after cb3, because he wanted to stop knight e4 from happening. And that's why white blocks bishop's diagonal with d5. And here, after cb3, now white goes knight e4, and after queen d8, he simply lost now. Black is simply lost, and after d6, black resigned because he cannot stop losing material here. For example, if he tries to stop knight g5 by taking first, that doesn't matter because knight g5 happens anyway. And after queen g5, he can first choose to take on f7, and after king f7, queen g5. Now white ends up with being queen up for two bishops, and also black's king is very vulnerable on the open. Next, rook d1 is going to come, and it's going to be really tough to defend this. Impossible to defend, let's say better. Let me show something else. So here, knight g5 was a big threat. No matter which one, I think knight from f to g5 was better, because knight on e4 is already centralized, so why not give this knight a bigger role? And that's it. It was a really quick game and really painful for Jeffery, I think, because this was really instructive. I hope you enjoyed this video, and have a great day. Bye.